I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. With us, a reoccurring guest. He's made some huge predictions. In early 2020, he said the market would be down about 35% or so. It was down 38% in the next month and a half. I think by April, it bottomed out. And he said after that, it's going to come back. And sure enough, it did. Then he made another huge prediction on Rosh Hashanah in September of 2020 and said something big is going to happen. He does biblical timelines. He calls himself an analyst of time. He does biblical timelines. He's not a prophet. So please don't write me and say, Bo Pony says he's a prophet. No, he's not. And he says he's not. He just analyzes things with biblical timelines. Anyway, what happened on Rosh Hashanah? I mean, leading up to that day that something big was going to happen, I had people, oh, it looks like nothing big happened. Oh, look at me, yeah. And then about 8:30 in the evening, they announced Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. And then came on about a month later and said, because Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, we're going to have the repeal of Roe versus Wade. Said it, happened, did it, even when people were worried about, well, I don't know if it's really, he said, no, it's done, it's over, it's done, finished, done, finito. Sure enough, Roe versus Wade was overturned. Then now he is saying what a lot of other people are saying, and that we have a big crash coming. Dowd says we have a big crash coming. We just had Charles Nenner on, the great Charles Nenner. He says, it's all about timing, and what is it? And it's got to crash. And a lot of folks are saying, well, my next guest is Bo Pony, who's made some freakishly good predictions. Bo Pony, and you say September, that's the month. We're going to have a reckoning, a financial reckoning. It's September. Bo Pony, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Thank you, Greg. As always, total pleasure to be here. And actually, I want to thank you for, always, being a voice out in the wilderness and just, never stopping preaching that Jesus Christ is in control. And that's the whole essence of our presentation today. We're going to take scriptures, Greg. We're going to talk about the scriptures. We're going to talk about what is happening in all the events of our world today are all predicted and scriptural. And we are in an incredible time point. And actually, we together spoke, it was last August, Greg, on the 14th. And we did an interview together, okay?
All right.
And that interview, before anybody, I know you talked about a few people up front, in the pre-interview that many people are now talking for potential crash this year, 2022. Greg, our interview of last August 14th, when nobody was talking about anything for 2022 in regards to crashes.
Yeah, and you said nothing's going to happen. And you clearly said this. Nothing's going to happen. We don't see any big crash until September of 22. This was a year ago. This is, yes. I think, in the month of August, more than a year ago. And so you have a little presentation. And we're going to do this a little differently this time. You have going to run some. In this case, you have a little presentation of that interview on USA Watchdog. Take it away, Bo Pony.
Great. Yeah. So just please, let's pay attention. This is a 2-minute clip of our interview of last August of 2021, talking about some crazy stuff. And now we're talking about September last year, about this September, which we're in right now. So please pay attention, 2-minute interview, and then we'll go from there. The financial event that we're looking for is third seal. It's a black horse. Black represents death, and the scales represents the financial rebalancing, the Jubilee. Because it's a black horse, that would indicate that we're probably going to see many deaths in the year 2022 next year. And that is also where we're going to see the immense financial shift. So like you described earlier, when Trump returns, it's to a whole big bunch of mess. Well, yeah, because the financial system, as you know, was broken, got destroyed, and then the Trump has to come in to repair it and rebuild it. And he's going to build it with gold and silver. So gold and silver, and specifically silver, the prophecy is that silver is going to be actually used in department stores. People will be buying items in department stores with their silver. So that is the prophecy, and that also ties in, with the rebalancing of the financial system, or the third seal. This is the Shemitah cycle What it shows that every 7 years you have a financial calamity occur, and you'll notice that in 2015 there really wasn't nothing that happened, and we were, many of the world, including myself, who thought that there would be a big financial event on the seventh Shemitah. But when you go back and you read Leviticus, it's actually a year of rest, so there really was no huge major events. But that now creates a problem because 7 years later takes us into 2022 next year, Greg, and that ties in with page 21, the black horse, third seal. So now I don't expect a massive drop on the stock market until next year. September is where we could see a really horrible event on the stock market next year, September of 2022. Again, tying in with the black horse, third seal.
And keep in mind, when you made that prediction, that was around August, was it August 14th of 2021? A little more than a year ago. That's freakish. And here we are. I know the market was up on Thursday, and everybody thinking, oh, well, phew, it's okay. The Fed is, Brainerd is talking about raising rates, and we're going to continue to raise rates, and they should listen to them, and who knows what's going to crash this, but they're not going to be cutting rates in September. So what's going on with September? So you think the big crash is coming now again? And this is again this date. Now every year it changes. You know, Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish, the Day of Atonement, right? So this year it's September 24th or 5th.
Correct. Yes. So I guess the point of today's interview for all your viewers, and to really, this is like an urgent message, you know, to have people really pay attention about this interview and relating to timelines. Everything that I've been talking about is at crunch time. So what happens in this September? I don't know. How bad will the market crash? I don't know. Okay. It could be as little as maybe hitting 20,000, under 20,000 on the Dow. It could be as great as 70, 80% market collapse. I don't know, because it really doesn't matter to me how bad it crashes and precisely the day it crashes. What matters is the crash is the event that will change everything. It's going to change everything, the way we perceive our world. Our world is about to change. And so, you know, things that we're talking, and the cycle that I even showed you, Greg, when we talked about last year, again, yes, I did talk about this September. If it crashed in September, you know, then it crashes in September. But I don't want the glory for this, because the cycle that I used to talk about this September, this month, was shown to me in a dream by God. So again, I just want the world to know we're living in biblical times. So this is critical. We are going to see impossible things happen. We are going to see absolutely impossible things happen this year. But when these impossible things happen, it's literally because God makes the impossible possible. And that's critical to understand. And I'm going to take scriptures today. We're going to go through numerous scriptures about where we are in the Bible today, because we are in end times. So where are we? What scriptures are about to be fulfilled? And we're going to talk about all of this in today's interview, Greg.
Well, this presentation will also be at the bottom of the after the interview section. This presentation if you ever want us to see this again, you can either roll back this interview and take a look at it, or you can take a look at the YouTube presentation, 2 minutes. I'll put that in the bottom too. And also there's some ways for you to get your cycle timing for gold and Bitcoin and Easy Crypto School. That'll all be in the after the interview section. But let's start with this presentation. All people will see his glory. Now, you're not a prophet. And let me just say this again. So please do not write me and talk about how, well, Pony's a false prophet. No, he's not a prophet. So if you write that, I'm going to delete it. Okay? Because you don't say you're a prophet. You do biblical timing, period, the end. So
correct.
Let's start with this.
I analyze our present timeline, our present world, our timeline we live in, and I overlay scripture on it, meaning I overlay Daniel's cycle and the many numerous other cycles, and taking those timelines and laying them on today's time events. And so I don't know what events are going to transpire. I have no idea, but I can talk to you about some really important dates.
Well, let's talk about September
as we head into the future here.
Let's just start with September. The month we're in.
So here we go. So basically, if we want to talk this, the starting point would be what we're waiting for is a miracle. As crazy as that sounds, Greg, we are waiting for a miracle because the miracle is the only thing that's going to stop evil. But you have to remember, see, like the United States, Greg, we were founded under who? Under God, the Constitution. All men are created equal, right? A good portion of the Constitution is right out of the Bible. And so these evil Satanists, okay, because again, we battle not against flesh and blood, Greg. We battle against who? Principalities of darkness. That's stated directly in Ephesians 6. This is who we deal with, okay? And so there is no such thing as mythology. It's history. We've talked about this in prior presentations, Greg. So we're waiting for a moment in time where God will manifest his glory. And when that moment in time happens, I mean, we need to go back in time and like ask a couple of questions. Like, why don't you go look what happened to Pharaoh? He was finished, done in 24 hours. Look what happened to this prophecy of this Daniel 5, which was taught. Sorry, Daniel 5, which was Belshazzar's last dinner, right? What last party? What happened? He mocked God and he died that night. The point is, everything is crunch time here, and we're heading into a 24-hour window, Greg, where everything we know changes. Everything we know changes. So those people that want this presentation, Greg's going to put it in the after interview section. There'll be a link you can click. Those of you who have smartphones, like when you go to a restaurant, simply take the smartphone, run it right over top of this right here, and boom, you'll be able to download it this way. So however you want to get the PDF presentation, I've narrowed it. It's a multi-100-page presentation, but I've narrowed this PDF down to 42 pages because it's directly relating to now.
And it's free.
Time.
It's free.
Yeah.
It's free. So
Absolutely.
There's nothing to buy here, folks. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you, Greg. So something really fascinating happened just before, this end of the week here, Greg. What happened? Who just died?
Oh, the Queen.
That's right. Those of you who have had my presentation for the past 2 years, I have had